So we've been running a quiz on our community page on YouTube, and the results are in. So, to show we're listening, this video is going to all be about the opening of the key spread. So thank you to everyone who contributed. We'll do another one if you're interested. I did realize that I should have put my own book in there, The Tarot and the Magus, but you know,
but this was the original intention of the video, is it?
Yes, yes. So you know, doing the opening of the key spread is essentially techniques from my book, The Tarot and the Magus, anyway. And we have actually been doing opening of the key techniques, because every week we do a 3-card reading, and that 3-card is one of the fundamentals of how you read tarot cards in this system, and we'll explain why a bit later on. So for this this quiz, nearly 50% of you wanted more on the opening of the key spread, which is good. Not many wanted things on psychic stuff, which I thought was interesting. And there's one on the individual cards. People aren't so bothered about that one either, which is good, because I thought I have to make another 78 cards, and that's a lot of work.
And postable individual cards can be found on many places, eh?
Yeah, I've got 2 versions, I think, basically, of them on YouTube. I mean, the thing is, essentially, individual cards don't tell you much anyway. You need a context. You know, when you draw a picture, you have an object. The object has a relationship to the background. Otherwise, it's just an object. And you can't tell distance. You can't understand what it's doing or what it's involved in. So it's important to have cards in a context with each other. And the best way is actually to have the cards represent a symbolic map of the universe, if you like, which is what the opening of the key spread is about. So the other one was Tarot and Magic, was a second place choice. In my mind, Tarot and Magic and the opening of the key and the Tarot and the Magus are all one and the same, basically. There is no difference, because you know, as Bart said in last week's video, when you interact with the card, you're changing the energies, and when you make a prediction for that person, you're changing the energies of what's going to go in their life. Isn't that right, Bart? Exactly.
A warned person, a person who has been warned is likely to take different decisions than the person who has not been warned.
It's going to be informed.
Yes, so in that sense, you have if it was a meaningful reading, the future has been changed.
Yeah,
by the reading,
which is what you want.
Which is magic.
Which is magic. So the opening of the key spread. No one quite knows where the title of the opening of the key spread comes from, but it appeared in I think one of Crowley's Equinox books, a smaller version, and there's Israel Regardie did an expanded version, or he took an expanded version from the Golden Dawn archive somewhere. And the opening of the key is interesting, is the opening of the key of what? And the opening of the key of life with the Holy Guardian Angel. There can be a lot of things that it can represent. But the interesting thing is Paul Foster Case included it in one of his books, but he didn't give it a title. And Aleister Crowley, of course, includes it in the Book of Thoth, and he also doesn't give it a title. So the biggest secret is the name of the spread.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
There'd be but I don't want to run ahead. If there wouldn't be a clue in the invocation about the name.
Could be. Yes. And one of the things it's a good thing to do is to actually do the invocation that's in the Book of Thoth, and also there's a Golden Dawn version. Sorry, the Golden Dawn did one, and Crowley slightly modified that for his book. And it's a good thing to actually do that invocation at the beginning of a tarot session or invocation or something like that as well. Because doing a tarot reading is essentially an invocation or an evocation, depending on which way you look at things. So I was saying earlier, it's a symbolic representation of the Kabbalistic universe. And the tarot is a mixture of numbers, Kabbalah, and astrology. So a good tarot spread will have all of those components and more within it. And that's actually too much to do in one spread. So the Golden Dawn broke it down into 5 separate stages. The one I tend to go on about is the first stage. And to be honest with you, 99% of the time, you can get away with just doing the first stage of the spread, which is basically Yod Hey, Vau Hey. You cut the cards into 4 piles, and they represent fire, water, air, and earth, or past, desires, worries, future. There's various titles and attributions you can give to those things depending on what you're doing. Yes, Bart?
If I understand it right, the past, desires, worries, future, these are titles that you have attributed it.
Yeah, it's been my experience, because basically I was, before I ever wrote the book, I was using this spread and just working on it. And that seemed to be the way to work things. And the interesting thing is that the air pile, the worries pile, is the one I tend to avoid, because actually it's the things that people, they know or they think they know, and they don't want to go there. It's a bit like knowing that you've got a complete mess under the stairs or under the kitchen sink. You know it needs sorting out, but you don't actually go there and do it. They're the things, or there's things in your relationship or things in your life or with work that's kind of going on, but you don't want to get anything about it. And one of the reasons is because you're in that circle. And with the 3 cards, essentially you're working with those, the first 2 and the third one, which we avoid, which is why we go to the 4th position, which comes from somewhere else. And that gives you an answer, if you like, to how to take things, to go with it. One way, problems with the kitchen sink, you call in a plumber. It costs you money, but he'd probably do a better job than you will. Hopefully create a lot less mess. So that, you don't do your own teeth, do you? You have to go to the dentist. And the dentist got problems with his teeth, he has to go to another dentist. So you very often need someone outside of the system in order to give you a better perspective and picture. We're back to this idea of perspective again, that you need a relationship between these things that are going on. So the second stage is the astrological houses, the 12 signs, 12 houses of the zodiac. So we create 12 piles, basically. And then we also have the zodiac signs, which is the 12 signs of the zodiac, of course. And then we have the 36 decanates, and that's 36 piles. Kind of the name, the clues in the title, isn't it? Some of these ones. And then we have the tree of life, which is you deal out the cards into 10 positions. We're glossing over this because it's just to sort of give you an overview of just everything is covered within the system. Yes, Bart?
This is the Book of Thoth sequence that you're giving now, eh?
It's the Golden Dawn one, should be.
Yeah, well, if you read the Book of Thoth as well, they give you all these different...
No. It basically, he cut it and pasted this section from the Golden Dawn thing, because he knew Israel Regardie. Israel Regardie was his secretary, so he probably had access to this stuff anyway. Sorry?
There was no computer, so he really must have taken a book and cut it.
Literally, yes. Probably a crap print as well, with a dodgy typewriter and things.
This explains the chaos.
But it's important enough for Crowley to include it in there. I mean, I've been studying this tarot spread for about 30 years, I guess now. And it's the gift that keeps on giving. I'm still constantly finding new things that are going on with this book. It never ends, basically. So as I said, it's a, the OTO and the AA and the Book of Thoth and Paul Foster case, the spread is basically, they said, oh, look, here's this spread. and here's what you can do with it. You know, they're not really, it's kind of presented to you, and it's always interesting when someone like Crowley presents us to you without comment, because that's something you've got to work out, find out what is really going on with that thing. When you get all the explanations of stuff, you often don't learn much. It's these things that they're silent on, so it's just like, it's like a reveal. What are you going to do with it? So as I said, it's in essence, the opening of the key spread is a ritual. And I find when I cut the cards, there's a body muscle memory that I have with these things, and it's like, oh, Paul's doing a tarot reading now, and it's even more reinforced at the moment, because normally I would ask the client to cut the cards and tell them to cut the cards and all that, but because of COVID, I'm doing it myself. So then we do this invocation as well. So you take the cards in your left hand, in the right hand, hold the wand over them and say, Bart.
Wait, where's my cards? Because we're gonna have to do it in a bit, so I might as well already get them ready.
We do this every week. But we say that, we forget.
Lack of wands, I took one of my bird sticks. So take the cards in your left hand.
Yes.
Your right hand, hold the wands.
Yes.
Over.
Yes. There we are.
I invoke thee, IAO, that thou wilt send HRU, the great angel that is set over the operations of the secret wisdom, to lay his hands invisibly upon these consecrated cards, that thereby we may obtain true knowledge of hidden things in the glory of thine ineffable name. Amen.
Amen.
So they are ready for use now.
That changed the energy a bit, didn't it?
Yes, it did. It does make a difference how unexplainable it might be, or however you might understand it, but it does. It changes the atmosphere a bit.
Yes, yes, it calms things down, because it's not not a banishing or anything like that either, is it? And it's not a pentagram banishing or thing. It's not a hectogram one either, is it? It's more of a vertical.
Invocation is the opposite.
Thing down, yeah. We've in the workshops we sort of took that apart. We dissected it, didn't we? We should probably do it again sometime as well, because it's very interesting. Yeah. So basically, the opening of the key spread you can use for anything that people come for a tarot reading for. And this week, we have a humdinger of a question for the 3-card reading. This is going to blow your mind a bit. Okay. Obviously, the gentleman who sent this in, he is a magician. There's no doubt about it. And he's obviously having experiences of these things as well, too. So here's the question. I have made contact with my holy guardian angel again by applying the methods in the Tarot and the Magus. How do I maintain and develop and deepen the conversation? Wow. That's so you might be thinking, well, what method is there in the Tarot and the Magus? Well, actually, it's the Tarot and the Magus is about the opening of the key spread and the techniques. Like as I say, there's 11 chapters, but a lot of it, more than half, is actually about magic and actually the neophyte ritual and the general and particular exordium are in there as well. And it's these kind of techniques. And the interesting thing is that when you work with tarot in a structure of the universe, which the opening of the key does, you create a resonance between the individual and the entire universe. You bring there's a harmonious kind of thing going on. There's a balance between the self and the universe. And when you have that kind of thing going on, the spirits tend to turn up to you. You know, you're not going after them. They're coming to you. You see. So, you know, you can expand the meaning of the holy guardian angel to be, my definition is more pluralistic than the monotheistic kind of way that we tend to think of the holy guardian angel. It can be any guiding spirit that comes along They're not exclusive to you. You know, they're ones that are recognized, and they often give a name and think, oh my God, that sounds like.
Yes, but I also have my, if for example, your holy guardian angel, whatever, Ali, your holy guardian angel, the way I understood it, is exclusive to you, but in another way, yeah, because sometimes you read about people who have a holy guardian angel, but the name, Ali, let's say any name of any spirit, the name is a common name of a common spirit. Does that mean everyone?
Doesn't that give that authority by the fact that the spirit is using
A certain name,
a recognized name?
Yes.
I mean, we know you're married, Bart, and but have you produced a wedding certificate to show that to us?
Tell you that I'm married.
Yeah. When do you? Well, that's not a guarantee either, is it? You see, so it's. I mean, how much proof do you require? I mean, famously, with the Book of the Law, Aleister Crowley sort of he tested his wife Rose Kelly on the. They gave these various Gematria tests to prove that the communication was valid and real.
And also in a way, I think, does it matter?
If it's valid and it helps you and you gain in knowledge and wisdom and power, then it's valid, yeah. But also, sometimes we're in a comfort zone. We don't want to get out of that sort of thing. We're happy where we are. Sometimes you need to be shaken to move on as well.
Yeah, but I mean, does the name matter?
It matters to you. It's a personal thing.
Well, then you could say, hello, guardian angel, what is your name? Whatever you want it to be, baby.
Well, what usually happens is they offer that, they tend to offer their name at the start anyway. It's like sort of saying, hello, this is my card. You see. And from my experience is you either hear the name or you actually see it written in front of you in English. Because they can read and write in English. They're not talking to you in a foreign language.
English is the new Latin, eh?
Yes, well, even in the spirit world as well, they talk to you in your own language. And they don't do this poncy these and thous and all that kind of pseudo stuff that you see in various people's versions of grimoires. They tend to be more idiomatic in the way that you speak. So you can actually think it's your voice, but it's not. They have a go at you. Different.
So they have a go at you. Spirits.
Well, they can do, yeah. I mean, get your act together, Bart. Sort yourself out.
What the f are you doing?
Who do you think you are?
Yeah, yes.
Indeed. How many times have we told you?
Stop moaning.
Get on with it.
It is. They talk. But I have to say this, yeah. Oh, this is too personal. I don't feel comfortable telling all these things here anyway.
We're not supposed to. We're supposed to be talking about for this gentleman who's asked these questions.
It's like putting my hand down my pants. It's like putting your hands down my pants. This is intimate.
Where did that come from? I know, because you've been talking about magic wands. That's why. Right. So let's get back. Well, I'll read out the question again. You've been shuffling, haven't you?
Yes.
Yes. And we're not going to cheat. There's no cheating involved in all of this, is there? It's the cards that come out. Some people think we fiddle. Well, I think you fiddle because you're the one doing the cards. So the question is again, I have made contact with the Holy Guardian Angel again by applying the methods in the Tower and the Magus. How do I maintain and develop and deepen the conversation? Over to you, Bart.
With my Holy Guardian Angel.
What jumped out? What's fell on the floor?
One of the discs. The 1 and the 2 of discs.
Have you shuffled these cards properly?
Yeah. Well, you've seen me. I did nothing but shuffle.
So okay, so the ace, the two of discs is change, and it tends to mean to maintain a continuum. And the aces are about establishing and maintaining things. They're in the fourth position. So
And
this
physical
would be
manifestation.
building. So the question is about maintaining and developing and deepening the conversation. So the ace of discs and the two of discs would be a perfect representation of that, would they? Reading done, but we won't. We will carry on.
Yes. All right. Let's cut. So maintaining conversation with the Holy Guardian Angel through the tarot.
Yes. Fortune. Okay.
And
Six of Cups, pleasure. Oh, that's an interesting card because that's actually to do with the we're doing the path from Keter to Tiphereth, and the Six of Cups is very much about spiritual transformation. Where are you going, Bart?
I am going to sit at the table so I can spread my cards.
Okay. Okay. I like the way you lick your finger when you do that.
Otherwise, the card doesn't want to come. So, first, second, third. The first one I'll put in the middle. Eh?
Well, put them as they come.
Huh? As they come. Well, they
Yes.
came like this.
Wow.
Sure.
Wow.
Strength.
Right. We have the Nine of Wands, and in the center, the Nine of Swords, and then we have the Emperor card there as well.
It's a strange answer.
Well, I mean, let's go backwards. We'll start with the Emperor card because the Emperor is about power and control and authority, and of course, Crowley famously transposed that card with a star. So there's an interplay of the masculine and feminine energies. You could see this as that maybe this gentleman, this magician, he's got to take control more. Also, because we can flip it with the Empress, with the Star card. It's a very feminine card. We discussed that, didn't we, last week?
Yes.
There's a powerful, energetic, masculine, feminine sort of thing going on there. And the two nines are Yesod, so there's a strong lunar influence in these cards as well. So it may well, which again represents the High Priestess because she is to do with the moon, and she is the path between Tiphereth and Keter. So we're working at a high level. I mean, if you do the OTO sort of stuff, you spend about 50, 60 years maybe getting to Tiphereth if you're lucky. Of course, with the Holy Guardian Angel things, it goes from Tiphereth, and then the energy comes down from Keter, which is essentially what the Invocation is about anyway. And the Nine of Swords in there, cruelty.
Your thoughts?
It's actually
the annihilation of the self.
Yes. Wow. Where did that come from?
Well, that's actually it is killing part of yourself. Eh?
It's also troubleshooting. So so in this case, it would be the illumination of any problems or obstacles or difficulties that he's finding on his path. So that that can be some person in his life that's no longer required. It could be he moves. It could be he has to change his temple. It could be there's a lot of things that could potentially be there. All these things that kind of stop him from doing the work.
And it's also swords. Eh? Swords stands for the ruach.
Right. Yes.
What I tend to do for myself, matter of introspection, any urge I feel in my head, you try to place it on the tree of life. You try to look what level of consciousness is creating a certain urge in your head.
Yeah.
The urge to go after a girl, that's your nepesh. For example. So the ruach here, normally the swords are in between, are in between the nepesh and Keter. So
right.
This part is actually what you need to cut away in order to get in touch with what's above it.
And we have the 9 of Wands, the Strength card there. So it's a sign that things improve anyway.
Yes.
So it might be improving his health. It might be strengthening his aura or things around him, or something like that that's going on there as well. I mean, it's interesting. I put this from Tipreth to Keter, but of course, Yesod is very much the lower part from Malkut to Tipreth. So it's still, and it's on the same path. Yes. Of course, we started with the ace and the 2. The ace is Keter, but also the discs is to do with Malkut as well. So we've essentially gone up through the central pillar of the Tree of Life here.
Now, and of course, we have to stick to this is Tzadi.
Tzadi can do, yes.
Doesn't he also go from Yesod, or is it different?
Tzadi it's from Hokmah to Tipreth, isn't it?
To Tiferet. So it's also connected to the Holy Guardian Angel.
Yes, it is, yeah. I mean, you could see the 9 of Swords as a crossing the abyss, if you like, Choronzon or something like that as well. Yes. That's sort of going on here too. Yes. So coming back to the comments we made earlier about the reading 3 cards, where we don't require positions or meanings to those things. We're not saying it's past, present, future. And this is a good example. I mean, it's a very impressive example, isn't it, for how to just read 3 cards to elucidate a question.
Especially since this is an example where the actual number is quite relevant in the reading of the card.
Yes.
It's not so much the name that's on the bottom of the card as the number, the 9 here, as being Yesod, the foundation.
Yes. So that's the 5th card, isn't it? The Emperor.
Depends where you start.
So what number is it? 4, isn't it?
It's number 4. So if you put
4. See, if you wanted to do the numerology here, okay, you say 9 plus 9 is 18 plus 4, 22.
And could
so it's the entire system of the major arcana, or the Hebrew letters of the Hebrew alphabet as well. You come to 4, which is a number, of course, of magic as well. So you're creating probably a very powerful lunar energy with the 9s that kind of counterbalances with the masculine energies of the Emperor as well. And remember, we started with the ace of discs and the 2 of discs. And we also had the 6 of cups. Was there one other card as well?
Fortune. We
forgot fortune. Yes. There's big transformation and things, because this is the wheel of energy that goes with it. And the 6 of cups has a very powerful connection to the Holy Guardian Angel in itself anyway.
It is. It's one of the most... It's a special card in the minor arcana.
Yeah. Crowley hints that it's to do with sex magic in his description. Yes. So I hope when he watches this that we've adequately covered how to maintain and develop and deepen the conversation.
Now, Paul, if somebody asks a question like this, you cannot expect to cover the answer to that question in 5 minutes. And second, it is also we read the cards, but in this case, we both have no clue whether what we say is actually relevant to that person, because this journey is so individual and different for each and every one of us that we can only gamble and hope that.
Well, we seem to have a pretty good track record of people have told us that the things that we've said have been pretty accurate and true.
That's not us. That's the cards that are good.
Well, yeah, but
we are merely...
it's the cards that give us the thing to say.
Yes.
I mean, the cards are generally right. It's the interpretation that goes wrong, basically.
I know.
So, Mr. Magician, I hope that's helpful for you. And it just shows the power. I mean, we had mundane questions, we had a very powerful sort of spiritual question that goes with this as well. We can do anything with the cards, basically. So we talked already about, so let's go back to the opening of the key spread. we're talking about, and these 3 card readings. And I think that's a good example of what you can do with a 3 card reading. You could actually essentially put those cards that we've came up with, Ace of 2, the 6 of Cups, the Fortune card, the 9 of Wands, the 9 of Swords, and the Emperor card. I've got a good memory, haven't I? I think I got that right. We have no visual cues at the moment as to these cards. It's due from my head. So what I've done actually is I've taken 5 cards, okay, and we have the Knight of Discs, the 6 of Swords, the Emperor card again, funnily enough, the 3 of Cups, and the Queen of Cups. So if we started with this is one of the reasons why we don't give positions or names to those 3 cards. If you take the 6 of Swords at the center, then the card on the left is the Knight of Discs, and on the right hand side we have the Emperor card.
Yes.
So if we just moved over one and put the Emperor at the center, then that would be the focus. And now the 6 of Swords is applying energy, as is the 3 of Cups. So essentially, when we have this string of cards, which is part of the opening keys process, it's the ability to analyze each card in terms of its neighbor. That's important, which is why doing 3 card readings like we do is a good exercise to do anyway. And if you notice, say we took the Emperor card at the center, and then we have the 6 of Swords on one side and the 3 of Cups on the other, then the cards, the Knight of Discs and the 3 of Cups, they're not directly connected to the Emperor, but they're essentially taking this 4th position, if you like. So this is another thing about the 4th position, was we don't exactly know where it comes from, what it's about. It's an energy that comes within the system. So within a sequence of cards, you can also have this 4th position, if you like, that shows up either side, where that the first card doesn't know what the outer cards are doing. And of course, the sequence is usually longer. Does that make sense, Bart?
Yes, and I am thinking in my head now, could you explain this as 1 + 2 + 3 = 4?
1 + 2 + 3 = 4.
Yeah.
That's all to do with the Tetraktys, basically. 1 + 2 + 3 is actually essentially the Supernal Triangle, which is above at the top of the tree of life. And you see the Supernal Triangle as 3 joined together. Okay, they're not individually. This is why we show them 3 together. We don't do bump, 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 like you're at junior school or something. That's how a lot of tarot teachers do it. They separate it out. And we don't do that. We put them together. And the interpretation we give, with the question, the Holy Guardian Angel question, then we just kind of, all these other things came out of just having those 3 cards there. And we also had a dialogue as well between each other, which facilitated more knowledge coming out, rather than me talking and him saying nothing.
Well, could you say then that the 4th card is actually the manifestation of the 3 previous ones in the real world?
Yes, on either side. Or actually, if you go in the direction, if you went from the Queen, say the 3 of Cups, and you went and you go in the direction of the Emperor and the 6 of Swords, you'd count on to the 3 of Swords, but also that shows a familiarity with that 4th position that isn't there when you read from another number. We haven't covered counting yet, but that's part of the thing. Well, the other thing we also haven't talked about here is elemental dignities, which is a very powerful system of working out the relative strengths and energies of the cards. And again, that depends on the position of the card. So if you take the Knight of Discs, for example, it's next to the 6 of Swords, and air and earth are antithetical elements. In the Golden Dawn system, they weaken each other, but actually in psychotherapy terms, in Jungian terms, which is where I go more these days, I will see that as a powerful duality that's going on, that creates energy. And with the Emperor card, it's a fire card.
Oh God, my phone is ringing.
You know, Elemental Dignities is a system in itself to explore, and you can read it in my book, The Town of Magus, and also we've got videos already here on YouTube where you can look into Elemental Dignities a bit more. But another of the techniques that we use in the opening of the key spread is card counting. And there's someone in our groups recently ask a question. They get very confused about it. And the question is basically, where do you start the card count from? Usually the top card. And that card is the first card that you count from. And then you go on to the next one. So in this example that we have here, we can go from if you go from the Knight of Discs going right, that is number one. For the knights, you count 4 anyway. So you go 1, 2, 3, 4. It takes you to the 3 of Cups. And for the 3 of Cups, you count 3. So we go, and that actually takes you back to the Knight of Discs. So you've done the sequence. We can do it the opposite direction with the Queen of Cups. So we start with her as 1, and the queens also we count 4. So we count 1, 2, 3, 4, which takes us to the 6 of Swords. And the 6 of Swords, we count 6 because that's the number. So we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It counts back onto itself. I hadn't thought this through very much. I just grabbed some cards. The interesting thing, actually, is that the 3 of Cups also counts onto the 6 of Swords. So we know that sequence, so we don't need to go any further with that sequence because that's it. And also the 3 of Cups, if you count in the opposite direction, that goes on to the Knight of Discs. So we know where the Knight of Discs goes to. So this is actually a good example of how you do card counting. You count until you count onto the same card again, and then you stop because you know where it's going to go to.
Yes.
The interesting thing is that there are uncounted cards in any sequence, usually 1 or 2, and that card counts onto other cards, but no other card counts onto it. So it's in essence, when you don't find that until you actually go through a lot of the cards and do this kind of analysis. And that's like the Holy Grail. You found the source of the Nile, if you like. And that's a card that initiates the whole sequence of the card counting in this group of cards. The other thing, yes, Bart.
When you apply the method of card counting, then of course, like a Knight of Discs, 1, 2, 3, 4. So when you read that, you don't read 3 cards, you read 2 cards at the time.
Well, you can read the cards either side as well. Okay, so in this example, if you went from the Knight of Discs, okay, it counts 4 onto 3 of Cups. It could be that he's expecting some good news about a couple, which could be his parents or someone else. So there's some good news coming about a couple, basically. And if you went from the other way round, the Queen of Cups counting to the 6 of Swords, then she would be wanting to know about a man who's quite possibly abroad, who's traveling, or she's waiting for news about a man. And we know she'd want good news because there's the 3 of Cups there as well.
Next to it, yes.
So there's lots of ways of, it depends on the context of who you're doing the reading for, their age, their marital status, or their relationship, or they're divorced, or having an affair, or it's a parent about a child, or a child about a parent. And all of these ones, you talk about those cards in a different way, purely because that person has different interests. You see, it's all about context. This is why one card on its own doesn't do anything. And this is also why we don't bother within those things of having positions as such, because it just depends upon where you are and where you're going to and what you want as to what that card's about.
Plus, now, this question pops up, but to be really honest, I don't have a problem with this question that I'm asking, but I think many people might, so I'll ask it anyway. In how much a string of cards is it chronological?
Time is back. You can move backwards and forwards. Sometimes, many times, because normally you'd actually read you spread out the Earth cards because they're the future position, because that's what people want to know about. But very often when you're talking to that person, you find that those cards are actually representing things that have already happened or are going on at the moment. So although they're the future cards, they're actually for right now.
And then you have, for example, the fortune card, of which some people say this is not a warning. This is sort of a warning of imminent change. Change is at hand. Many people interpret the fortune card as
but that can be good, and it can be. The thing about the fortune card in medieval times, it didn't mean it meant that things will change suddenly. So you could be mega rich and die the next day, or get hit with some incurable disease and you lose everything. So the fortune card is win or lose. But it depends upon, so for the fortune card, I would look at the cards either side of the fortune card, the cards that count onto the fortune card, and the cards that the fortune card counts onto in either direction. So it's a very sophisticated kind of system that you're doing there, because the cards are interacting to each other and in different ways. And there's often, you can see a pattern that arises when you do that.
And is the technique of reading the cards the same as when then you, for example, you do pairing, or when you do it?
Yeah, pairing is a bit more difficult. It's the hardest discipline to do, actually, because then you just have two cards, and it's a polarity thing that you're really dealing with. I struggle with pairing, to be honest with you. But you can start from the outer cards and work to the middle, and you'll either have one or two cards at the center to analyze. And you can also pair from other cards in or outwards as well. We can start from the middle two cards and pair outwards. There's lots of variations as how you want to do with those things. But with the card counting, there's an interesting thing going on. You have to memorize these things, but I mean, if you kind of remember what 78 cards are, you shouldn't have too much trouble remembering these ones either. So for the knights and queens and princes, you count 4.
I find that easy to remember because there's 4 court cards.
Yes, but the princesses, you count 7.
Now, we explained last time why exactly that was. Could you refresh my memory?
I cut that out.
You cut that out?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I remember Princess is 7. I used to say, how do you mean 7? Planetary trumps is 9 planet. There is 7 planets, so planetary should be 7.
So it's actually to do with the 7 palaces, which is another topic we'll do at some point.
Exactly, that's all another tangent.
Yes, another subject. So there's a kind of a clue as to what the Golden Dawn is alluding to in these numerological kind of things that are going on here as well. So for the aces, in Aleister Crowley's version, you count 11, because that's the number of change and magic. But actually in the Golden Dawn system, it's 5, because 5 is the element of spirits, and the spirits is the balanced energies of the 4 aces, basically. It's all to do with Keter. You wouldn't have 1 for Keter, because that'd be stuck on itself, which is useless, basically. So you have a choice, and people get, it's sometimes if you're getting nowhere counting for your aces and 5, then try counting 11. And if you always count 11 and you're having trouble, then try counting 5. It's a flexible system. There's no hard and fast rule. The rules are hard and fast, but how you apply the rules.
Nothing is carved in stone.
Yeah, it's a bit like the moves of the chess pieces don't change, but it's whether it's a legal move or not, and where you choose to move that piece to. That's your choice. But both sides know what the rules are. So if you do an illegal move, I'll tell you. You can't do that. So the small cards you count according to number. So it's the 2 of discs, you count 2, 1, which is essentially the next card to it. And for 3, you count the card on the side. We did the 3s and the 6s in that example. For the trumps, for the elemental trumps, which is the the Fool, the Hangman, and Aeon, which are the 3 elements, you count 3. So in essence, that's probably also to do with the supernal energies as well, basically.
Yeah, it's the mother letters as well.
They're the mother letters in the Hebrew language, yes. Yes, for the and then you have the 9 for the planetary trumps, the Magus, the High Priestess, the Emperor, the Fortune card, the Sun card, the Universe card, and the Tower. I think I've covered them all, haven't I? It's Mercury, Magus. So the planets, you don't count 7, you count 9. And the reason is you include the lunar nodes in there as well, which also is a pointer to another aspect of the Golden Dawn system, which we don't need to worry about at the moment here. And then we have 12 for the zodiacal trumps. The Emperor, the Hierophant, the Lovers, and so on, they all represent one of the zodiac signs. And for them, you do count 12. You see. So it's a good idea to actually just randomly spread out a string of cards and count from the first one, and see if you can actually remember. You know, after a while, you just you can count by eye basically when the system's embedded into your mind. So you need a bit of memory muscle going on there to do that. And when you do that, then you're free to. The mind is free to kind of explore what it might mean by having these card counting in these forms as well. You're going to say something, Bart?
Yes. Well,
broken pencil, broken.
No, that's my birdie. The stick of my birdie. So we have made this because people want to know how to perform the opening of the key spread.
Yes.
So you shuffle the cards. You cut them in 4 piles. The Yod Hey Vav Hey.
Yep.
You take the top cards.
Turn them over. Yep.
And then elemental balance.
You can do that. Actually, what we're thinking of doing, we'll do. Bart pointed out that I actually have a list in the Tower and the Magus. There's like a checklist of things that you can go through for the cards. We'll say that for next week, I think. So this is just to kind of give you an overview and the power and potential of how to use the opening of the key spread. It's the thing about this spread is there's many ways of cutting it. You know, it's not a hard and fast rule.
It's not just plonking.
No. You don't just plonk them down, Mr. Della Plonke. Monsieur Della Plonke.
Yeah, Monsieur Poirot.
So I hope this has helped you. Any questions in the community page down, and also down below as well here. There's our tarot groups on YouTube. Bart's Tarot Corner.
Bart's Toth Tarot Corner.
Bart's Toth Tarot Corner.
Toth.
Monsieur Bart Toth Tarot Corner.
Le Fof.
And if you want a reading from me, you can contact me on paulhughes-barlow.com. And if you want to buy my book, it's a good book. Bart's read it. Have you read it all yet?
Yeah, I've read it more than once already. I've read the whole thing in one go, and then I've read it in pieces, a bit left, bit, doing like the Book of Thoth. You
dip into it. All the time. I mean, it's a colleague of mine, a colleague of ours, and he's telling me stuff, and he sends me a message about stuff. And I was like, that's good. Who wrote that? You did in the Town of Magus. Oh, did I? Oh. So there's so much we can do with these things. So if you have any particular questions, or you have a question for the 3-card reading using the opening of the key spread techniques, as shuffled by Monsieur Poirot, EC. My best schoolboy French there, did you notice?
Yes, but it sounded a bit like allo, allo. It is I, Leclerc.
If you've got any more comments and stuff, let us know. And we hope to see you next week with, let's do the checklist of the opening of the key spread. And
Paul, I told you I have a request.
Yes. Oh, right. What's that?
The comparing 2-card readings to 3-card readings.
Okay. We'll try that as well.
You know you want to do it, Paul.
like a challenge. See you next week.
Bye, guys.